Trying to figure it out. Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us on this very special stream. Let me check my audio. All right, audio is fine. Thank you for joining us. This is Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. I am very excited to do this co-host stream on the Charles Jones trial out of Tampa with Florida PI Sam. So get comfortable, settle in, and let's bring Sam up to the stage. Hello, hello. How are you?
Hi, good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
I'm well. I'm better. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. It's been a week. It's been a week for us. I know it's been a week for you, and I do appreciate you doing this stream with us. I can't wait to hear everything that you need to or are able to tell us. So why don't we start off with tell us a little bit about yourself for our audience. I know you have your audience who knows you quite well, and but for those that don't know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, I am a licensed Florida private investigator, and I went to law school here in Florida. I graduated, oh my God, what year are we in? 12 years ago now. It seems that's crazy. And instead of being a licensed lawyer, I ended up having a job that I didn't even know existed when I was in law school. So I work on criminal defense cases, specifically court-appointed private defense attorneys. So everyone thinks that there's only public defenders, and there are lawyers who are in private practice. They're criminal defense attorneys who are on a state appointment list, which means they agree to work for the state. And then once a defendant has made it to the point where a private defense attorney is appointed, then they can put motions forward to hire people like me.
Fantastic. In regards to trials that we have watched, what are you able to talk to us about?
So I first came creeping around YouTube when Sarah Boone came into all of our lives, because she had actually been in my life. I worked originally for Billy Lane at Prison Break Investigations, and during my time there, I worked on Sarah Boone's case. It was very early on. And then I also worked early on the XXXTentacion out of Fort Lauderdale. That was another very young rapper. And then for you guys, you aired Trevor Summers. I worked on that case. And then, let's see, we did Sunny Bell, right?
Yep.
And that one, you streamed the whole thing, and then we did a follow-up. And now this one, which is Julio Foolio or Charles Jones.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it's been a fun couple years now that we've had the pleasure of knowing you and talking with you, and really looking forward to hearing your insights into the Charles Jones trial. Again, tell me what I can ask and what I can't ask. But should we start with an overview, or do you want to tell us your general impressions of the trial, or should we start
Well,
with an overview?
I want to say that I'm really glad that I have you to do these with, because my audience knows I'm incredibly ADHD and I will zoom all over the place if not corralled. So I have been looking at some of the other YouTube channels and some things that have come out about the case, about the trial, and there's so much misinformation out there that I'm really glad that we're getting to do this so that I can correct some of that to whatever extent I can. And as you well know, and your chat knows, I've been in your chat for the last couple of days because I caught a cold and no one wanted, you could see how packed in we all were.
Yeah.
And I was in a corner in between a lot of lawyers and coughing. And so I haven't been back to court since a week ago Thursday. So it's been really crazy, like having gone from sitting there every day and talking to my client, who is Davion Murphy, to watching it from here and then talking to everyone in your chat, which you guys were very nice to me, and I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate everyone having like an open perspective when it comes to criminal defense and understanding that this is part of the system.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's start then with just a real high level overview of the case for those that may not be familiar with it, or those that are watching and they kind of came and went. The victim is Charles Jones, as we were mentioning, and there were 5 defendants. Now, Alicia Andrews, she's on the bottom. She was tried and convicted, below Sam there, tried and convicted last Halloween, actually Halloween night. Her verdict came in, and she was convicted of the lesser, which was manslaughter. Now, she has the same judge, Judge Sisko, was on her trial that is on the trial of Charles Jones with the other 4 defendants. Alicia's defense team was able to remove Judge Sisko from the sentencing. And then now their defense filed a motion for a new trial, which is actually going to be happening this Monday, so 2 days from now. So there's a lot still in play with Alicia Andrews. Her sentencing would be in December. If she doesn't get a new trial, her sentencing would be in December. So she wanted to do the speedy trial. The other 4 decided not to. Is that correct? That's why she went.
Yes.
She
was also pregnant at the time they were arrested. My client, Davion Murphy, remained at large and out of custody for 7 months, I believe.
It was June of 2023, and then January. Yeah, January 6th.
So 6 months, 7 months. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Sam, as she said, was part of the team that represented Davion. You see him up top there. Then we had Rashad Murphy, who was a cousin. So Davion and Rashad
are cousins. They are not brothers.
Yes, they are cousins.
They are actually cousins. And so just so everyone is clear, I have a law degree, but I'm not a licensed attorney. So I work on these cases as a licensed private investigator. So I'm part of the team. And also in my chat is attorney Scotty Sonardi, who gave Davion's closing, which was succinct and on point. Yes. Yep. And we are very proud of him.
Absolutely. By all counts, everybody was very happy with it because, as we know, Brian, for those that don't know, Brian Gonzalez likes to talk, which nothing wrong with that.
He is zealous.
He is zealous. Everybody enjoyed his passion for sure. But then when Scotty got up, everybody's like, sweet. It was short. It was sweet. It was succinct. It was to the point. Yeah. So kudos.
And we actually, we worked on the Alexis on my channel, and Scotty sat here at this desk. Well, Alexis is in another state, and they worked on the PowerPoint while I sat on my couch on a different computer in your chat watching your cats play because I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
Hey, Kat Knott Williams has joined us. I have to say, I followed your YSL coverage. Great channel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kat. Good to see you. So let's just, again, high level, June 23rd. So Charles Jones is out celebrating his birthday. These guys are all from Jacksonville. So
everybody's from Jacksonville. And should we say that this is the part of the backstory here is this culture of something called drill rap, which was something I didn't know anything about. I had to start learning before I could even go through the discovery. So this is a situation that came out of Jacksonville and culminated in this event here in Tampa. So I just want everybody to be aware that we're these people and this, are we allowed to say the WAR word? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
And this sort of war.
War is fine. Yeah.
Feud.
Yep. Beef,
this ongoing feud is something that exists in Jacksonville. It is not something that I have ever seen in 10 years in Tampa.
Right. And drill rap, for those that don't know, again, high level, started in Chicago, went over to the UK, came back to New York City, made its way down to Jacksonville. And I don't know of any other city in Florida. Is it in Miami, Fort Lauderdale,
I
Tallahassee?
do think there is a small I do think there is a small drill rap community further like in South Florida, but I went to school in Miami, and when I was there, I'd never heard of anything like this.
Hmm.
So, but like we just said, I graduated 12 years ago.
Yeah.
My, how time flies.
Hmm.
Um, it originated out of Chicago, is my understanding, and that there is
Yeah.
also a very strong drill rap presence in the UK as well as one in New York. And I guess maybe we should tell people what drill rap is.
Sure.
Do
Do
you
you want
want
to?
me to?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
So I okay, if you I don't even know how to present this in a way that makes any kind of sense, but it is um essentially creating music and bragging about your ops, your opposition, and the crimes that you may have committed, especially capital M, against them. And then you publish the song, and there are these warring factions, and it goes back and forth. So we got one of yours, they got one of our, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And Charles Jones, Julio Foolio, was the face of Six Block in Jacksonville, and that's one of the that's him there on my right. Um, and he was the most sort of prolific for that side for KTA, Six Block. So in the trial, they referred to him as, or referred to it as Six Block. He lived in the originally started in the Hilltop apartment complex in Jacksonville, and then lived at 45th and Moncrief, which is in the heart of this sort of it's not like the normal things, the kind of feud that we saw in the 1990s between the East Coast and the West Coast of
Mhm.
the United States. This is very fluid. These are neighborhood cliques, and they kind of come and go and join up, and some people might move over here and move over there. But then the goal, I guess, is that you are unaliving your opposition, and you're making music about it, and it's making you rich.
Yeah. So the ops, we have KTA, as Sab was saying, and then the ops, if you will, would be ATK, which is Ace's top killers. Now Ace is Young and Ace, and 1200 is another. So as Sam was alluding to, these are neighborhoods. It's not Bloods and Crips, and it's a hybrid. A lot of the detectives in the trial were talking about hybrid. They're not a criminal gang. They're not a street gang. They're not a cartel. They're hybrid. So you kind of have like, I think they even said they're like independent contractors. So they kind of float in and out. Do you want to say something?
Under the Florida, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I think that was part of the argument that was being made in the case, is that we have a statute here, and under the statute, and I saw some people in chat like, why are we going over this information again? We've already heard it. It was because um, they were charged as with a gang enhancement. And
Mhm.
so, according to Florida statute, the way it's interpreted right now, these are criminal gangs.
Mhm. Yeah.
But Scotty and I were joking that, under that statute, he and I could maybe be considered gang associates at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because we're in the company of them more than 4 times. And, you know, um, there's a Florida statute about that. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't it's I mean, you and I are Gen X. It's not what we knew, Bloods and Crips, growing up. This is something completely different.
Agreed. One of the detectives, and I'm trying to find his name real quick, may have been Matthew Jones. Oh, David Alverson, I think. Anyway, he likened it to a pickup game of like, because there's rules, right? Certain rules. So you've got like a basketball pickup game, and you can kind of come and play, and everybody sort of knows the rules. Then you've got and that's what these guys are. It's very neighborhood specific. It's very territorial. They steal cars, they sell drugs, and they rap. And just so you know, we'll get to the songs, but one song alone, Who I Smoke, is 58 million views, and then When I See You is 74 million views, and this is on YouTube alone. These guys, I think I looked up Ace's um, uh, estimated value, I think, is around $10 million, and I think Julio was around $4 or $5 million. So the record labels and YouTube is rewarding these guys by writing these lyrics about killing each other, taking each other out,
Bragging about it.
and bragging
Absolutely
about it.
bragging about it.
Yep, self-snitching. So just to get back to that basketball analogy, so these guys, these hybrid gangs are like a pickup game, but then you've got like the street level and the cartels. That's like the NBA, where you've got uniforms, you've got a leader. It's a hierarchy. It's structured. Whereas this group is not as structured. You have quote unquote maybe leaders, and those would be the people that are making the most. I wouldn't. Well, they would be making the most money, but they're the most visible. So
they are the most visible, and you have them on the screen. So Ace is sort of part of it sort of broke off and went like very strongly towards a music face of things. But then you have like Queso, who I think was probably the top hitter for 1200 or ATK, and then Benz and Wapa, the brothers, they are also pretty famous. And then and 23 is famous for being deceased at this point, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, so that kind of gives you guys but is their music their main source of money? I would say yes. Camilla, thank you for your question. Sam, what do you think? I mean, when you have, well, I think they were showing some videos, and I looked up all the views, and I think there was like 10 million views between like 3 or 4 songs, and I think that was Benz and Wapa were doing those, or it may have even been more. But anyway, yeah, I think YouTube is probably their main source of money, and then Apple Music or iTunes or wherever else, these songs are released.
Too old. I think we're too old. So yeah, they do get a lot of views on YouTube. They are making a lot of money on YouTube, but they are also big users of Spaces or they were, I should say, Spaces on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it today, which is like almost like, I guess, like a live where everyone who's in the space could actually speak to each other. It's like a Zoom call on social media.
So how does that generate money, though? Does that generates money?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
But yeah, SoundCloud, there's just a number of different outlets that I don't think we as grown-up adults have any idea of the kind of revenue that they can make from all the different platforms, Instagram and all the different things.
Yeah. So their main source of income would probably be music. I know they steal cars. I know firearms are out there. Drugs, we've Robert Howard, we heard about him. So any number of sources, but I would probably say music. I would hazard to guess probably music is probably their top money earner. All right, so that kind of gives our chat sort of a high level. Now let's go to the trial itself. So I found this interesting. So the court approved what the state wanted to bring in to talk about this history, because we kind of talked about this. This history has been going on since 2015. It was before that, but the old groups kind of faded out. They got RICO'd, people died, they went to jail, whatever. And these new groups rose out of those old groups. And so the state wanted to, how far back did the state want to go? But eventually they settled on going back to 2019 in this beef. Did they want to go back further, or did they?
I think that I'm not so sure that it was, and Scotty can tell us for certain because he was at all the hearings. I don't know that it was that they wanted to go back further, like we were talking about earlier, to like 2015, or if it was, I do know that they wanted to allow as many of these incidents, as we can refer to them, which means the unaliving of another person using a firearm. They wanted to allow as many of these incidents in as possible, because if anyone watched the Alicia Andrews trial, they showed these charts, and they were hard to see, but they were photographs of various members on both sides who had been unalived or were potentially still alive. And trying to wrap your head around this in any way, shape, or form is, unless you are from it, you understand it, you follow it. It's such a huge thing. And the judge was like, no, like, we're not bringing in all of these people. You're going to have to scale it back. And so it took me, after I did all my research, which was basically like watching tons of interviews and different things of that nature, it took me, actually, when I was helping the lawyers prep, I printed out each of the 6 that the incidences that the judge said could come in. And I had made 2 copies of it, one for the attorney who doesn't do digital, and one for me. I have a binder from which I just distribute paper copies when he inevitably loses his. So I was, laying them out side by side, and then making sure he had the same as I did and everything, because apparently I didn't collate. But I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand why it's just these 6, because you could see this happened, and the very next day this happened, and then this happened, and it was super clear. What I'm not sure of, because when I sit in these cases and when I live with them for as long as I have done with this one, or I'm in the courtroom, I don't know, did the state make that clear that they were putting up 6, like, did the evidence show that there was this back and forth for these different incidents?
Oh, for sure. But the state brought in more than 6.
Yeah, well, yeah, they they sure did.
They brought in more than 6, but yeah, no, they made it clear that it was back and forth. Yeah, they made it clear. So this
Callie Pitt, love, long time no see. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So we won't dwell on this. But I just want to show you guys. So for the state, they went back to Bibby, who was Charles's really good friend, and then we go forward to 2023 really exploded. So you've got Jaquan Pickens, then you've got Jacoby Beals, then you got Antonio Tilley. And actually the same night, well, Antonio Tilley was talking with a female, apparently. He takes a Uber to a house and he gets ambushed and taken out. And then 5-6 hours later, retaliation happens and Charles he gets shot in the foot. This is the infamous shot in the foot, where then he's in his hospital bed and he's live streaming and talking and stuff. So
I think the one where he was live streaming was actually the one where he was shot in Houston.
Was that Houston? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know he was coming home.
He had to undergo some major surgery for the getting shot in the foot. And if there's a music video that he released while he was still recovering from that, and you could see the big like metal rod and metal pins in his foot, Yeah. Whereas in Houston, I think they grazed his neck. But yeah, there had been multiple attempts on his life, and he knew that he knew the lifestyle he was living, and he knew where he was it was gonna end in one of 2 ways, either in prison or in a coffin. He knew it. I'm not saying it was right or wrong. I'm just saying that was out of his own mouth, that was the choice he made.
Yeah. Now, the state brought in the October 23 shooting because 2 casings were found in Sean Gathright, who is one of the defendants, his brass catcher at his mom's house that matched casings found at that shooting in 2023, but then also that matched the casings from Jacksonville. That was very confusing to me in the testimony.
Oh my gosh, so confusing. And I was hoping you were going to explain it correctly. So and I'm not going to try to contradict that. But for anyone who has watched either of our channels for any length of time or watches trials in general, you know that shell casings expelled from firearms are identifiable, right? They have striations on them.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, there were 300 blackout rifles used and one Glock with a switch, which made it fully automatic. So the blackout rifles had brass catchers on them, which means every cartridge shell or every casing that was expelled from the gun was caught like in a basket, like you said. But the Glock didn't have that. And so there were casings left behind. The guns from this incident were never found. Right. But it was those Glock casings that in a very confusing manner helped to connect Sean, right, to that prior attempt on Charles Jones in 2023 and to a number of unsolved incidences in Jacksonville. So he was basically, that is to say, that the gun that was used, the 9mm, I believe it was a Glock, that was used in this incident had been used previously in an attempt on Charles Jones's life, as well as some other unsolved crimes in Jacksonville.
Yeah. Did you know, and we talked about this during the trial, that Sean was in Mississippi, Oxford to be specific, which is about 11-hour drive from Jacksonville. In 2023, he shot 3 people.
So I didn't know that. The amount of discovery that came through in this case was, I think, like the way it came to me was, it was such a disorganized mess from two different states. So we had Georgia and Florida. Then we had three or four different counties in Florida. And so I focused on what had to do with my client, right? That's the main focus. Like I went through and I organized everything, but I did not go down a Sean rabbit hole or an Isaiah rabbit hole. I focused on Davion Murphy. Sure. And if I needed to know something like his connection to Rashad, what does that look like? Then I went through that. But so no, to answer your question, no, I had no idea that he had been, I mean, clearly they arrest him, charged him, and let him go?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. Well, I know they arrested him, and I don't know. There was no other news articles. It was just the shooting and his arrest, and then that was it. So, yeah.
I want to address this one question that's come through on my chat. It's from K. Tally Pitlove, who has been eagerly awaiting this trial for a very long time on my channel. So it's funny that you ask that, K. Tally, because just before we came on, I was watching Academic's stream from earlier today, and he was making all kinds of incorrect assertions, which was interesting. But he said that he thought that Davion should have pled insanity. Well, if you know anything about the law, it's not that simple. Davion is not insane. He is I like Davion Murphy. You just want to laugh when you're around him. And I know that's going to come across terribly to some people. But what I want people to understand is, while I see every piece of the severity of what the clients are charged with, what they may have done, I also see them sort of disconnected from that because they've been incarcerated for however many months or years before I ever walk in the door. And so it's a weird situation for me because I get to know them, some of them, for years and years and years on a certain level. And at that time, they're like, this is no longer the person who did this over here. And it's a lot to sort of get my brain around sometimes. But Davion is I think, Chris, you've been telling me he's the guy that you want at your party, you know? Is he crazy? No. Like mentally crazy? No, clinically, no, he's not.
Mm.
He's a guy with a lot of very strong emotions, and he's quick to show them. And um, I was on him from day one about keeping a poker face. I'm like, the camera, do you see that right there? He hated it. He hated being on camera. He hated that this was high publicity. He didn't want any of this to be, he didn't want the notoriety from it. You know what I mean? He just was like, he didn't want it at all. And I just had to keep reminding him over and over and over again, you are in a courtroom, you are on trial for your life, you know, and anyone in the world can watch this.
Right. There is going to be your team, Deborah Toomey, who is going to do the penalty phase now. They're going to, you guys, Deborah, I'll go with that. Apparently a doctor did a brain scan, and then there was also prescriptions. So do you know anything
So I think that was confusing the way that came out. Yeah. So, okay, we're looking at a DP case. Mm-hmm. I don't know, since this is streaming on my channel, I say a lot of things that I'm trying really hard not to say as this goes out on your channel. So this is a DP case, which could ultimately end with the state of Florida taking the lives of these defendants. So what has happened is we've had first phase of the trial. This is the guilt or the innocence phase. This is the phase I work on, right? I'm a fact investigator. So Scotty Sonardi, Nick Sonardi, and me, we were all on the guilt phase, first phase, right? So is the guy guilty or innocent? And what we're looking for is, I have so many things I could say about all this. I'll try so hard to stay on track. Mm-hmm. But now second phase is coming, and that's mitigation and aggravation. And mm-hmm. so that's when the penalty will be decided. There's only two choices: life or DP. Mm-hmm. And so it is very, very common in DP cases in Florida in particular to do psychiatric histories, psychosocial histories, mental health histories, brain scans, PET scans, any kind of scan you could possibly think of. They'll dig up every relative they can possibly find mm-hmm. to testify, because now they're trying at in the second phase, your client has been convicted. You're just trying to save their lives at this point. So right. The way that that motion and the doctor and the prescriptions, it was the doctor. Like if you are being sent to get an EKG or an EEG or anything like that, the doctor has to write. It's like a referral, right? You can't just walk in and say, oh, hey, can you scan my brain today? So mm-hmm. that's what they were talking about, the prescription for the scan. Okay. Because then the transport has to be arranged out of the county jail, to take him to the place. Why it's been left so late, that I'm not sure about. But like I said, I don't typically work mitigation. It's not my thing. It's too messy. I'm too old for that crap.
Understood. And apparently that doctor is going to be deposed on Monday. State hasn't deposed that doctor.
Yeah, yet. Like I don't know why it's been left that late.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, you said they're going to pull out as many people as they can. So Sean's going to have his cousin and a stepfather and a guidance counselor, but the guidance counselor couldn't come. Let's see. I didn't hear.
Rashad's fiance, which they've been together since they were 13, and they have 3 children together. Apparently, she violated her probation and is locked up in the Duval County Jail, so she can't come.
Yep. Yeah, Rashad witness said fiance arrested. Yep. They didn't say others. They just said how many hours they would take. So, all right, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's get back to
I know. See, this is why I have to. I'm like a 3-year-old. I will wander off.
It's okay. All right. So, can you talk to us before we pull up? We have jury instructions and the verdict form before, just generic that we can kind of talk about. But before we do that, can you talk to us a little bit about the jury selection process? I know you did a stream, and I encourage everybody to watch that at some point. But just very briefly, can you talk a little bit about what the?
Yeah, briefly. I am like Brian Gonzalez. I will talk.
Just high
So
level. I'll rein you in. I'll rein you in if need be.
I did do a stream. I did it without my notes. I think I saw a stack of all my jury stuff back there. But basically, this was a 10-day jury selection process. And I think Scotty can give me the real numbers because he's half my age and has a functioning brain. But I think we brought in close to 500. And you go through 3 phases of voir dire for a 2-phase DP trial. And so the first round, they are looking for anybody with publicity. I need to give 450, Scotty says. I need to make Scotty a mod on my channel so he pops out in my chat and I can see him. Remind me.
Thank you,
to
Scotty.
do that, Scotty. So, yeah, jury selection was longer than the trial. Right. So 450 prospective jurors were brought in. And I missed the first 2 days because I was dealing with a family situation. So they ran through looking for people who knew something about this case. And then if I understand it correctly, because I couldn't think on my stream. I can't get up here without notes and like be coherent. But then there's another section where they go through for hardship. So like if you're self-employed or you take care of people or you're going to lose your job or you're not going to, stuff that like being in a 5-week trial would have an impact on your life, which for most of us, I think it would. Aaron's texting me instructions. No, we don't want me playing with the tech right now. That would be bad. I can't multitask the same. And then the final phase is qualifying them for death, which basically is could you make that decision if the criteria were met? And I do have an entire series that I did on juries in Florida. And I do intend to kind of come back and wrap it up and clean it up because, sometimes I'm really organized and lots of time I'm not. So that's what I will say about that.
Okay, fair enough. So it took longer than the trial. Trial was 11 days. Jury instructions or jury selection took longer. And again, I encourage if you guys really want to hear more about how that happened, the experience that Sam had, definitely encourage you to go watch that video. It was from 2 weeks ago, I think, right? 2 weeks now?
Yeah. After 4 months of not streaming, I reappeared out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was good. Definitely go check that out. Okay, so we get to trial. Can you talk at all about the jury, or can we not? We know the makeup of the jury. Can we talk about that?
So, I was there when we finished the panel. So I did 8 of the 10 days. I felt like, so as I see it through my lens, I guess, is that you're looking for people in the middle, right? The state's going to want people that will say, yes, absolutely, 100%. If they did something, they should get that punishment. And we want somebody that's going to say, no, of course not. We could never do that. So you automatically knock those 2 ends of the spectrum out, right? And you're just sort of, you try to get to the core, like they use a number system 1 through 10. So you're looking for ideally a F5, but like 4, 5, 6-ish range. And we ended up with, I think what was a decent-ish mix of men and women. There were more women than there were men. I sent you the numbers, but I don't remember.
I think it was 9 and 6. 9 and 6.
Okay. So we had 3 alternates, which we didn't have to use any during the guilt phase of the trial, but I think she's holding one back for penalty phase just in case, so that the whole process doesn't have to start all over again. And that we had some potential jurors who were literally 18 years old. And we talked about this on my stream, so I'm not going to go into it in detail, but I think that we ended up with it appeared to me a decent balance of ages. So in your chat, they were asking, could I tell them the ages of the jurors? Well, I'd have to go back and find their individual questionnaires from all the way back. And it doesn't have their age. It has their birth date on it. But I would say that we weren't too high in the old and we weren't too too low in the young. It was probably mid-20s to maybe 70.
Okay.
I could be completely wrong. I have to go and sort through what I brought back with me, because every day that we go there to do these, there's new lists. They reprint the lists. We have the charts. We have new charts. It gets very messy very quickly.
Okay. No, I totally can understand that and hear that. Before we move on, though, I want to get to some questions that our chat had for you that I took notes. So I just wanted to, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. Let's do that.
Let's get to some. I'm going to post them here so that we give proper credit to the people, and then I'm going to pull it up here.
Yeah, I looked at them. Hold on.
Yeah.
Scotty,
So this came. Oh, go ahead.
Scotty,
Sorry.
put something in chat and let me see if I can turn you into a moderator so I can actually, if you're still here. Scotty raises twin 5-year-olds. So, but he's young. So he's got the sanity for it, I suppose.
He's got the energy as well. Sanity and energy.
Yeah. Okay. Could PICM address the advantage of waiving speedy trial? Seems if you're innocent, you want out ASAP and don't want them any more time than possible to build a case. So the reason for asking this question is because Alicia Andrews, who is the fifth co-defendant, was tried in October. Yeah, is that right?
Yep.
Is that, yeah. So she was supposed to be tried in August of 2025, but the lead prosecutor, Michelle Doherty, got sick and they had to bump it out to October. She came in and refused to waive her right to a speedy trial, which means that the state then had to bring her to trial within, and I looked it up so I wouldn't mess it up, but I didn't write it down. So I think it's 175 days for a felony. She was pregnant at the time as well. And the benefit to it is, well, if they don't have a lot on you, or you don't, I guess Brian is from your channel is right in that, well, okay, the state's going to have to go with what they got. But on the other hand, when you work in defense, sometimes that's not what you want. You want more time to pass, one, so that you have time to depose witnesses, so that you have time to investigate. Florida is one of the only states that has allows depositions in a criminal case. So there were a gazillion witnesses and depositions taken in Jacksonville, depositions taken down here. You want, the longer a case goes, and it's really unfortunate. It's like this double-edged sword, because they're sitting in county, but the benefit can be that, like, people forget, people go away, people move away, people just disappear. So you can end up with fewer witnesses, fuzzier memories. The case could kind of sort of fall apart. By the same token, then the defense sometimes goes through more than one attorney. And so things are passed along down the road as that happens. But I think I will say that the defense attorneys I know generally say that it is better to draw it out. As the person who was awaiting trial, I would highly disagree with that.
Okay.
Oh my God, we have a prospective juror. Wow.
Taylor Fritz. I was one of the 450 prospective jurors on this case. How early on did the attorneys know who they wanted? Seemed like they kept going back to the same.
Yeah, it felt like that to me too. Well, hi Taylor. Welcome into. Thanks for joining us. Wow. Okay. So did we know from the beginning who we wanted? No. There were too many of you. So you guys would fill out like a little 1-page questionnaire. So we'd all kind of like, it's a quick flip through, and you're flagging certain things like law enforcement, like victim of crime. For me, some stuff just stands out, and I start, yes, Scotty.
So that
Hold
answers
on.
your
Let
question,
me see if I
Taylor.
can click on the things and make Scotty a mod like Aaron says I can do. Report. It says add as a moderator. There you go. Yeah, you can manage. Fine. You can manage my cat. You can manage. Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, we Taylor, one of the attorneys, is also in the chat. So I would say that in the beginning, no, and then we start. There's so many of you, and if you will remember, you were packed into the. We were in a different courtroom. You're packed into the jury box, and then all of the gallery. And so the way these courtrooms are set up, with the judge bench being real high, and then there being a podium in between the state and the defense, we couldn't see some of you forever. And then you start looking for flags that are just really quickly gonna eliminate people. Can I ask how far in the process you made it through? If you don't mind saying. If you do mind saying, that's fine too. But welcome also.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your perspective too.
Oh, you made it to the very end. So you were cut the last day? And how did you feel about that? Huh. So interesting, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But she made a point that yes, it did seem attorneys kept going back to the same people over and over and over again. And I don't remember in any of the trials that I have worked on, I don't remember that happening as much as it did to this, this case.
Like American Idol auditions.
Yeah, but I mean, there were some people that made it all the way to the end that should have been cut very early on. And I felt personally like some people just weren't listening because they could have been out of their days earlier. But yeah, I'll have to come back and clean up my stream from 2 weeks ago. No, we didn't know who we wanted from the beginning. And as I've explained before, and I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but you don't get to pick a jury so much as you slot in a jury. So it's like if you imagine squares, my charts are all over there. We have by the time it gets down to like the last 75 or so, we have everybody's number in the squares and then their names and some pertinent information. But we started making charts towards the end, and I was using different colors, but you sort of like strike the ones you don't want, or the ones that the judge was like struck for cause, so that like either sides don't have to use one of their strikes. And so if you imagine a row of boxes, you could just X out the first one. Okay, well then the next 12 come across. Well, then if you go 1, 2, 3, and you knock out the third one, then the panel's going to slide forward that way. Does that make sense? I'm super visual. I need to do a chart or a diagram. Yep. Hey, Joshua, welcome.
Welcome
yeah,
in,
and
Joe.
Congratulations to Scotty Sonardi, who is asking our prospective juror for feedback, thoughts, opinions, improvements. Y'all be kind to Scotty. He's a good attorney. And if you don't know, he's 26 years old and just gave a closing in a high-profile DP case.
All right, I want to get to another question here that came in. It's okay. On Friday, do you ever, because we're talking about, I think this is an appropriate time to pull this up. This comes from Janish. So do you ever struggle with helping a defendant due to your personal convictions? Are you able to put that in a box and trust the process and do your best for the defendant? And that goes for you too, Scotty. I would throw that out to Scotty as well.
In the beginning, it was harder for me to do that. Like I was like, I don't want to work on that case. Now I draw the line. I do have lines that I will not cross. But for the most part, like I said, it's not like I'm on the case from day one because of the process that we have to get through before someone like me is brought into a case. So I would say that now I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing it. But I had a lot of clients that had hung around for years. And so they knew me for a very long time. And then you start to know them as a person, and then you get to trial and you're just like, there's this cognitive dissonance, I guess, that goes on to some extent. I have lines that I don't want to work on certain cases because I don't want to see that kind of evidence. But for the most part, I'm okay because as I have said repeatedly, I'm not here to get guilty people off like that. I don't view that as my job. If you are a criminal defendant, you are going in with the odds stacked so highly against you. It's ridiculous. I view my job as just trying to be as just facilitating the process, right? And when people get mad and they're like, oh, how could you possibly work on this monster's defense, blah blah blah, I say to people, think about, what if it was you? What if it was your friend, family member, whatever, that was the person who was charged? Look at Karen Reed, right? She's around my age. I don't have her kind of money. We have similar educations. I'm not dating a cop, but the justice system can take anyone apart. So for me, I look at it as like, this is the job I chose. And yeah, sometimes I really hate the people. I hate what they've done. I hate that they're there. For the younger ones, especially, it's hard. It's hard because that they made a choice when they were so young, and they've not only ended someone else's life, but their own.
Yeah. Well, you have Sarah Boone and Trevor Summers, and then you have Davion, who you said generally seems like a pretty decent dude, but he's now been convicted of taking out somebody's life. So then there's
and it's
that.
not my job to determine whether they're guilty or not, and I don't ever ask.
Yeah. So this is a good segue to this question from Brian, because you were talking about you can kind of pick and choose your clients, right? You just pretty much said that. So then how about these state appointed attorneys,
So no,
right?
no.
No.
So what happens is we think it might be alphabetical, but I don't know that we're actually sure. But the clerk's office has a list of death qualified attorneys. And this is the same for felonies, misdemeanors, RICO, child cases, all the different cases, right? So you get on this registry, which means that you agree to be paid by the Justice Administration Commission in Florida. You're basically saying, hey, I'll be an independent contractor, right? So you have to have this contract with the JAC, which is how I get paid as well. What happens is there are only so many criminal defense attorneys in this circuit that are qualified at a certain level, which is why if you look at the attorney makeup from Sunny Bell, you'll see some of the same attorneys on this case.
Yep.
But no, you don't get to pick out, and they don't pick out of a hat. Actually, it's kind of a funny story. Scotty got stopped in the hallway, and we were initially given Rashad, but then like Brian somehow got in the mix, so it went to him, and then Davion wasn't arrested for a very long time, so then we eventually ended up with him. But the clerk's office picks up the phone and looks at the next name on the list. Hey, do you want the case? And the attorneys can say yes, no, and then you move through it. And I think that on this one, I think that Jason Wise may have replaced Bjorn Brunvand. I don't know how to say his name correct. But all of these private defense attorneys, if anybody wants to go and check out my prior streams, yes, I ramble sometimes, but there are good messages in there, which is, one is that these are not bad attorneys, and how many people out there could afford to pay for a private defense. You couldn't. I couldn't bail myself out of jail, to be honest with you. And so you're getting private defense attorneys, but the state is paying for it.
Right. How many might then I'll ask the follow-up question. How many lawyers in the state of Florida are death qualified roughly? 500, 1,000, 10,000, 50?
Being death qualified versus being on the list, I think, are two different things.
Okay.
So, like, I think in our circuit, the last time when I was working in office for the elder sonarty, there were like 13 in our circuit. And I don't know if that has changed or not, because a lot of things have changed.
Okay.
It's hard to say. Like, when I was in law school, 2011 to 2014, there were 900,000 licensed attorneys in Florida at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And Scotty's saying not even that many anymore. So I've got one attorney who I'm working with. I work on other Bama. I do not disagree with you. I'm working with another attorney to get him on these cases so that he'll be certified to try death cases, and then he can bring Scotty up behind him. It's like an apprenticeship almost. You sit second chair, you add in, right, and you kind of climb the ladder, so to speak. How did Isaiah get 5 attorneys? So he didn't have 5. He had an investigator, the girl with the long hair who was pregnant. She is an investigator. And then he was represented by Office of Regional Counsel, Regional Conflict Counsel, which is a hybrid agency. So those attorneys work for regional counsel, which means they're also appointed, but they have a boss, but they can have a practice on the side. Oh, thank you, Scotty. So 11 certified for, or eight attorneys certified for first phase in the 13th Circuit. This is Tampa, Florida. We have 8 certified death attorneys. That's crazy. That's nothing for an 11 for second phase, which is the penalty phase. So I lost my train of thought, of course. What was I answering, or was I?
We were talking about why Isaiah had
right.
5.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so his attorneys, he had 2 main ones, right? First phase and second phase, but it was the same thing where the older attorneys were there in a supervisory position. They would be considered like first and second chair, and then the other. So one was an investigator. 2, you had Jenna Finkelstein. She is second phase, and you had wait, no, that's Sean. I'm mixing people up.
Yeah, Isaiah's Justin Pedreus was the main.
Yeah, and so it was for the same purpose. So the senior attorney had the experience to be on the list, and they were bringing up the attorney under them, like getting them the experience. That's how you end up with as many as you do. Like, actually, Davion had 4, right? Because it was Nick, Deb, Scotty, and another attorney named Chris, who just ended up with too many trials of his own, and so will be participating in other ones. So there were 4 listed for Davion as well.
Yeah, we don't have Deborah Toomey's name on there on that chart. So that's our bad. Sorry, Deborah, if you're watching. Apologies. All right, one more question, and then I want to move to jury instructions. Wrong one. Good vibes. Debbie asks, are they together in a holding cell? Because we saw them taken out, and they went one door, that kind of thing. So they are not in the same holding cell.
No. So anytime that you have co-defendants, the way in which you have these, they may be tried together, but they are not to be transported together. They're not to be in holding cells next to each other. They are not housed, or they're not supposed to be housed in the jail in the same pods. Sometime I'll do a stream where I do a satellite overview of what the jail looks like, but they are all supposed to be kept separate. And I saw someone in your chat say, how is it that they're talking to each other if they're supposed to be kept separate? And honestly, that's the first time I've ever experienced that, where they were talking to each other and the deputies or the attorneys or whomever were not like, shut up and don't talk to each other. And if I can just address this one thing very, very quickly. Davion was removed from court the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And people are coming around and they're saying, oh, well, Davion was mad because he did not like the short closing given by the young lawyer, Scotty Snarty.
Mm-hmm.
That is not true. Okay. So first of all, when Scotty finished working on that closing, he went directly to the jail and went through it with Davion.
Mm-hmm.
Davion said it was fine. It was great. He was happy. And when Scotty went and sat back down, Davion was happy. This was a conflict between Davion and his cousin. And his cousin, Rashad, is very, very soft-spoken. Once Davion is doing anything, whether he's laughing or he's yelling or he's singing in the interrogation room, he's loud. Mm-hmm. And so that's why he was taken out, wherein, in fact, it was a conversation that went awry started by Rashad. And so I just, like, to whomever is watching this, at least for whoever of you are out there, I can clear that much up. Davion was not mad at his lawyers. It was a altercation between the two of them. Davion is just loud.
Okay. No, good. Yeah, I appreciate that. And then Robert Howard came over from Jacksonville, and he's got federal charges pending. He did not stay in the same holding area.
I remember somebody in your chat talking about this. Okay, so when you're in federal custody, it doesn't matter where you are, and you haven't been sentenced yet, but you've been arrested on federal charges. And I speak only for the state of Florida and primarily my experience here in this circuit in Tampa. But there are no federal, like, temporary housing. So county jail is meant to be you're awaiting trial or you're serving a sentence that's like under a year. So what they have to do is when someone has been arrested on federal charges, they are held in the county jail closest to whatever federal district they're being tried in. Mm-hmm. So Robert Howard was in a county lockup near Jacksonville. I don't think he was in Jacksonville. I think he's near Jacksonville. And he was brought here to Hillsborough County. He would have been in the same facility, which is the Hillsborough County Jail, as the co-defendants were, because he's in county physical custody, right? Until he is tried and or sentenced, in which case he would go into the federal Department of Corrections and be moved to a federal facility. So hopefully that makes sense.
It did. Do you think this? I'm going to bring this question up, and then I want to dovetail this into Robert. So, Renee asks, have any family members been to court to show their support?
It's a really great question that you asked. So I think there were a number of factors at play here. Mm-hmm. Rashad and Davion don't have a lot of living family. Mm-hmm. Davion didn't want his mother there. Rashad's fiance, she was had violated her probation and ended up incarcerated, which I guess had happened about a week ago, but we didn't know that. Well, I say we, I mean me and Scotty, because Scotty just told me today and he didn't know it either. So, and then I think that there was the travel distance of being 300 miles away. You're looking at nearly $5 gas in the state of Florida. If you work, you're asking to take 5 to 6 weeks off of your life so you can travel to Tampa to attend a trial where you are going to have to pay for where you stay. Then you've got childcare. Then you've got what Renee Insky says, which is the fear of retaliation. I think that was also a possibility, but as well, I'm really cognizant that for sibling, like, let's say that there are siblings who have had encounters with law enforcement. Maybe they've got an open warrant, or maybe they've had a bad arrest or something like that. They don't want to go anywhere near a courthouse because they don't want to be anywhere near the presence of law enforcement. And the bailiffs, they're not bailiffs, they're sheriff's deputies here. Mm-hmm. So, yes, if you show up with an open warrant and somebody figures out that that's where you are, you could be locked up on the spot. So I think there are a number of factors that go into play. It was just really jarring because the courtroom was so big to see the gallery be so empty. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think for all those factors come into play. And they have to get through security, so they're coming in unarmed,
Right.
thankfully. But yeah, I think that it was very glaring. And a lot of people, I believe that was Sean's sister that was there like every single day.
I
And
think
she was
so.
very sweet. She had a Bible open next to her. She was always very well dressed, well mannered. Um, and then you would see people coming in and out of like the center gallery, and those would be like people that worked in the courthouse and were
Mhm.
just checking things out, things like that. But yeah, I was
Mhm.
actually surprised that we had so few people, period.
Yeah. The other thing is just media. Like we've watched other trials where there's, at least, 4, 5, 6 people just from the media alone. So it didn't even seem like media was
Well,
present.
so I sent you a photo, if you'll remember. It's the one
Mhm.
lady inside the courtroom that is controlling all the cameras.
Mhm.
So there's no like giant TV camera. They're like they look
Like
like R2D2.
GoPros or something,
Yeah,
or
that well, they're kind of like this
bigger.
oval shape, but they're on remote control. So she sits in there with the laptop. But then I sent
Mhm.
you a photo of like the room just outside the courtroom where that big table was and all those feeds were plugged in. That
Mhm.
was for Law and Crime, Court TV. I think he said New York, Los Angeles, um, probably Jacksonville. But there were like 5 or 6 different outlets there.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. And then I said I was going to dovetail the retaliation. What about Robert Howard? He,
Oh man, the situation with Robert Howard is messy, messy, messy.
yeah.
And you probably don't want me going into that, but let's just say that Robert Howard was connected to the Murphys all the way back to 2015.
Mhm.
And um he he what do you say about Robert Howard deserves his own entire stream.
Mhm.
He is going away for a very long time in federal, and I don't think it would have mattered much what he said or did in this trial. And he didn't say anything differently that I'm aware of. And I could come back to this in 3 days time and go, oh yeah, that was different. But in Alicia's trial, he testified. He gave an initial statement to law enforcement. He gave a deposition for Alicia's trial, and then he gave a deposition for this trial, and then he proffered. Um, so we have 4 different, like, written under oath statements from him
Mhm.
to look at, and then his testimony in Alicia's trial. So there's a lot out there on Robert Howard, and for the most part, his story is extremely consistent.
Yeah. I found him pretty credible. I think most of our chat did. I'm sure there's always somebody out there that will have a different opinion. But I thought that he was respectful. He was always saying, yes, ma'am, yes, sir,
Well,
no,
Chris,
ma'am.
you and I are both from Ohio,
Mhm.
and um, that was one, like, with the gray hair came the ma'ams. But
Mhm.
I lived in Fort Myers, Florida, and then I lived in Miami, and then I came up here, and I've been up here for about 10 years now. And that is constant with any of our defendants for the most part. I would say
Mhm.
98% of them, it's yes, ma'am, yes,
Mhm.
ma'am, yes, ma'am, to everything I say. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Ask them a question. Yes, ma'am. And
Mhm.
it's just like that's what comes out of their mouth. And I noticed that with the detectives as well,
Mhm.
from Jacksonville, that they were like, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Mhm. Right.
So it's, I don't know if it's like, if it's just this part of Florida, this sort of like mid to northern Florida that does that. I have no idea.
Well, it's like, yeah, Southern respect versus Northern. Like I did not grow up with that. I respected my
Right.
elders,
We didn't
but I
either. I
never
mean, that's
said
why I was
that. Yeah.
saying, like, we're
Yeah.
both from Ohio.
Yeah.
And even down in Fort Myers, when I moved down there, I was just at the beginning of my 30s. Um, and I was there for quite a long time, and I never encountered the yes ma'am
Yeah.
situation.
It's a
And
Southern,
Cat.
it's a Southern thing. All right. Catnut Williams. I was wondering if having more names would have been advantageous for the defense, other people with motive.
So,
I think that goes back to the timeline of
and
history.
I'm trying to think about how to answer that for you. Um, if you know the history of this situation, then the answer to that question is no. It would have actually shown, I believe, potentially more motive for some of the defendants. I understand your question. I know I'm being very guarded right now. I want to think about that. I know where your channel is. I'll come leave you a comment.
We'll come back. Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. All
right. I want to think about that. I want to be very careful about what I say. I am subjected to attorney-client privilege, and everything that we talk about here is in the public record. But Kat, I appreciate your question, and I'm not. I need to think on that.
Fair enough. YT Hazel, do you go to jail to meet with your clients? Clients. I am so fascinated with your work. I think I remember you discussing meeting Sarah Boone at the jail, if I remember correctly. Yes. And
yeah, Trevor I lost Summers a lot of hours of my life to Sarah Boone over in Orlando, wherever they were keeping her. Mm-hmm. Poor Billy, man. Like Sarah's going to stick with him till the end of time. Yes. I go to Falkenberg Road Jail primarily if I'm here in Hillsborough County, which is where Tampa is located. It's very easy. The lawyer who gets me appointed to a case sends a letter over there. They have all my identification. They have my agency information, my license information, my driver's license information. And as long as I have a letter with that person's booking number on it for the pendency of their stay under that booking number, so like that hotel reservation, I can come and go from the jail as I please. Now, the surrounding counties like Clearwater and St. Pete, like Pinellas, Pasco, Polk, they're all different. Then the process is not easy. It's a pain in the butt. It's not, I hate it. I hate those jails. Mm-hmm. The Hillsborough County Jail and the experience of it is like going to the Four Seasons or the Ritz versus the Motel 6. It's just a nightmare. But yes, I do.
Let's see. I think Kate Talley, we talked about this when Davion got upset and had to be taken out. Was it because he thought he was being called? Do it if you can answer. We discussed
he and Rashad had a disagreement.
Yeah, we did discuss that. All right. Do you want to get to jury instructions now? And then we can come back to some more questions.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions before we so my suggestion was we had all these co-defendants that we look at what they were charged with and then the jury instructions so that chat could, or viewers could understand what the burden of the state was. What did the state have to do to get these guys convicted? Because there seems to be a lot of misinformation out there, or maybe lack of information about what it takes to convict somebody. And, people like to get in chat and say, oh, they're cooked. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, or they call the lawyers bad lawyers because they don't put up a defense. And I'll rant on about that in my own streams going forward. But I thought what we could do was look at the charging document and look at the jury form and see how they have to line up and match.
Okay. Well, let's see. Jury instructions first.
Debbie, they'll all go into Florida Department of Corrections, not different states. Hey, Kim, we've got a couple of Ohioans here in our chat. Okay, jury instructions. Let me see. All right, so I'm going to make this bigger because
okay, sorry.
I don't know, I'm blind. Okay, do you want to start with the indictment?
That's the verdict form. I don't have the indictment.
These are the jury instructions. Oh.
We didn't talk about the indictment, but Aaron can get it. Yeah, Aaron will get it. All right. Well, Aaron gets that for us. Let's take a couple more questions. Okay. We talk about the makeup of the jury. Are they talking?
We had a prospective juror in here just a little bit ago, and shout out to them for coming. And I appreciate you.
Absolutely. There was a really good one from Anthony. Hold on, let me find Anthony's question. Anthony, you had a really good question. Hold on. See if I can find it real quick.
Kimbers is from Cleveland and from Central Ohio.
How did you feel about that juror that made that statement of saying good job to the prosecutor?
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, we work so hard to try to keep ourselves separate from the jurors, and that's hard because there's only one place to eat in the courthouse, and like somebody offered me and Scotty to sit with them during jury selection. It's like, yo, like we have to pretend like you're just not there. So Michelle did the right thing, Miss Doherty, that she told the judge about it immediately, and then the judge has to conduct a colloquy, asking the juror if I don't know. I think, Scotty, can you tell me, did that juror end up getting dismissed and they moved an alternate over? Can you tell me what the oh, that's a great question on the ground. You guys, I'm so easily distracted.
Sorry.
Here's a question from Spain. I'm waiting for Scotty to tell me what happened to that juror because I don't remember if I don't think they were dismissed, but they might have been swapped out for an alternate. I'm not sure. But there's a question on here from Spain. Thanks, Laura, for the Trial TV Live memberships. On the ground 09 from Spain. I wondered if people are afraid to be on a jury in this kind of trial. So I would say that if this case had come in Jacksonville and not in Tampa, that the answer to that could possibly be yes, because this has been an ongoing, I need to count because there are dozens of dead young men on both sides. And so, yeah, I think that's potentially could have happened in Jacksonville. But then again, the performer Queso Hakeem Robinson was just tried along with Scotty for, not this Scotty, a different little Scotty, and I forget the kid's last name right now. They were tried in Jacksonville for some unalivings, and actually he just pled to the murder, sorry, Chris, of Bibby. And to my knowledge, that was a Jacksonville jury and they were okay. However, this was a much more high profile target. So here in Tampa, I don't think that's an issue. And they're keeping the jurors' name secret, and they weren't wearing badges around the courtroom. They're never shown on camera. I could probably recognize maybe 4 of them because I was just too far away from the jury box. It's a good question.
Let's see. Dominique Barner. So it was Butta. It was Butta. And
Butta testified against Queso and Scotty. Scotty Whitaker.
All right. Let's get to here. Let me hide that. All right. So this is the indictment. So I'm controlling the scroll. So you tell me how fast or slow you want me to go.
Okay, so this is just so that everybody could see. I wanted to show you guys the indictment. So this is an amended indictment. It just changes a date for the conspiracy. But you can see there all 5 defendants are listed on the left. I'm going to make this bigger because I can't see. Okay, go. So there were, 6 counts in this indictment? So, okay, so if you look here, so they were indicted by grand jury, which means that the state had to go and present evidence to a secret jury that no defense attorneys could be present at. So they were all charged with the felonious unaliving of a human being with premeditated design. That's the language you're looking for right there. And then on the next line, the most important part is during the commission, carried, displayed, used, threatened to use, or attempted to use a firearm. And then the next most important thing is actually possessed it and discharged it during the commission. So you have those, those are almost like criteria that you have to meet. Oh, I have Henry for.
So they took out a human being. They carried a firearm, and they used said firearm.
Right. Is it intent in there with premeditated? So you're going to have the intent. And so then so that's count 1. And you see all the statutes that are listed there that basically lays out the criteria is what we're calling it. Bama stop. Count 2 was for knowingly agree, conspire, combine, or confederate among themselves or other diverse persons as part of a continuing common scheme or plan to commit a felony, and then it names that felony in the first degree, and it goes again through premeditation, says that again, and during the commission of the conspiracy to commit that first degree, they were also a gang member, and that the action was to promote or further the interests of the criminal gang.
Right.
Okay, so now this one is going to be
this is for
Sean, Rashad, and Davion. So it's only the three, right?
Yeah, because Isaiah was
printed out right in front of me. I'm so dumb.
Isaiah would be considered the lookout. These with Sean, Rashad, and Davion that
were the shooters, right?
Were the shooters.
So counts, if I'm not mistaken, counts 3, 4, and 5, and 6 should all be the same-ish, but it's so they were charged with premeditated attempted. Is it? Do I have that right? County. Yeah. So this one is the attempt on Xavier Edwards, right?
Yep.
And during that, they displayed, used, possessed, and discharged, and was a gang member. So that'll be for Xavier, and then they'll have the same thing for and the gang enhancements on there. So then you have Sean, Rashad, Davion again, and this is for Geno Norris, who was in the back seat of Charles Jones's car. And it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Right.
And it'll be the same thing for
It'll be Camia.
Camia, right?
Yep.
And so they came back on I will get to it, but they came back on second degree for this, which I think was the right decision on that.
And then count 6
and then count 6. Oh, it's the tampering charge.
Yeah, this was just for Sean.
That was just for Sean. Yeah.
So where does it say tampering? Did knowingly proceeding, did unlawfully knowing, alter here, yeah. Here it is. Alter, destroy, conceal, or remove. So that was that. So here are the counts in a nice
right,
neat
in a line.
Yeah.
So you see there, they've got the premeditation, the use of the firearm, but actually firing it, and then they've got the gang enhancement on there.
Right. All right. And then that's so that's that. Okay. Do you want to go now to jury instructions?
Yeah. Do you want to take a quick look at the jury instructions? I'm just trying to give you guys like a peek at what the jurors had to, what the state had to prove, right? Because everyone's always like, oh, they're so guilty. Well, okay, but the state has to like meet this checklist, if you will. Right. So we looked at what they were charged with. Here are the instructions. We kind of cobbled these together from the model juror instructions that are out there, the generic ones, and then we cheated in a little bit of AI transcription and came up with something we think's about right. But so the statement of the charge is just what we had just looked at on the indictment, and then the second one is introduction, and it says they're accused of the M in the first degree and the conspiracy in counts 1 and 2. And then it explains that M in the first degree includes the lesser included of M in the second and manslaughter, all of which are unlawful. And then it goes into excusable or justifiable, which we just that's not applicable here.
So, it was when I heard her reading that, and I put that in my notes, I'm like, justifiable is on the table, but apparently it is.
Okay, so and then it goes into an if then, right? If you find that the victim was removed by the defendants, you will then consider the circumstances surrounding in deciding if it was M1, M2, or manslaughter, or justifiable use of deadly force, which we know that it wasn't.
Right.
And then this is what I'm always going on about, and I'm never I have this entire drive full of stuff that like I always mean to pull out during streams and I never do it. But this is the elements. So I keep telling you guys over and over again, or you hear the phrase, each and every element of a charge beyond and to the exclusion of a reasonable doubt. Here are your elements. So to prove the crime of first degree premeditated, the state must prove, the state must prove. Okay, this does not say the defense has to do anything. The state must prove the following three elements beyond a reasonable doubt. 1, that the victim is deceased. 2, that the deceasing was caused by a criminal act of the defendant. And 3, there was a premeditation. And then helpfully, it explains what an act is, what premeditation is. And it says, I think the most important parts here are, the law does not fix the exact period of time that must pass between the formation of the premeditated intent and the actual doing of it, right? The period of time must be long enough to allow reflection by the defendant.
Now that could be seconds. Is that like 5 seconds,
yeah,
1 second?
Yeah.
2, it literally could be seconds.
It could be seconds. It literally could be seconds.
So let's go back to this. So if you're in the jury room and you're like, okay, we know the victim in this case was Charles. We know he's no longer with us. That's an easy one. We also know, okay, this was caused by a criminal act of the defendant. So that's probably where if you had doubt, you'd be like, well, we know that they were there from their cell tower. We know that they were there from the ring footage. We know that Alicia's phone was sharing locations with Sean's phone. We know that they were in the McDonald's. We know that they traveled because they're on the license plate readers. The only thing, and the defense was hanging their hat on this the whole time, was that, well, there was no eyewitnesses that put them at the hotel, and there was no, on the video of the hotel, they were all masked up. So that was the crux of the defense. You can't put my client there physically,
right.
that's visually,
That's reasonable doubt. So this was, there's direct and circumstantial evidence, and people think circumstantial evidence can't convict people, but it absolutely can.
We see it all the
direct
time.
Evidence.
We see it all the time.
Yeah, you see it all the time. Direct evidence. There wasn't a whole lot of like, I'm overgeneralizing and simplifying, but like direct evidence would be like DNA, right? It would be maybe photos on your social media, which they had some of that.
A text message saying, "I hate you. I can't wait till I kill you."
Yeah, different things like that, like actual
or a video of some. We've watched trials where people, I forget the one where they had a bar fight or whatever, and the guy, it's there on camera. You see this person getting beat up or whatever. So, or no, I think he hit him and he fell off and he hit his head on the sidewalk or whatever. I mean, we have seen those before, but I would say the majority of trials we watch are circumstantial,
Yeah, I would agree. So,
anyway.
So in this situation, okay, I was thinking about how to explain this earlier. When you put forth a defense, it's almost like you're defending your actions, right? But you're justifying why something was done. But the state has the burden. You don't ever have to say a word as a defendant. The state has to prove all those points. And if their case is a piece of paper, then the defense just has to poke holes in it. Like, are their witnesses credible? Did they find the guns? Were they able to meet all 3 points of that checklist for each of the charges?
Yeah.
And so,
well, that's why I think this was technically, they were not identified on camera, because they were masked up and there were no eyewitnesses. So, I mean, if you really, really want to get into the technicality of it, the state didn't prove that, other than they were seen in those cars before. They were seen in the cars before. Their cell tower data puts them there. The McDonald's. I mean, again, a defense attorney could argue this for months,
We
and
tried.
the state,
I saw a lot of
prosecutor.
things on social media. I saw a lot of things in chats. We tried to sever. There were motion after motion after motion after motion to keep things out and to do all the things. And everybody is so quick to say, well, if these defense attorneys were so good, they would have done X, Y, and Z. Well, you don't know, because all that stuff was done and ruled probably in favor of the state,
Yeah.
So
here's another one too. So number one is that's obviously that's a no-brainer. I think we all agree to that. 2 is debatable, and then 3 is very debatable. Was that premeditated? And again, premeditation and no plea offers, right? Scotty's saying. And premeditated could be as quickly as like seconds, right? It doesn't have to be like a month before or a week before. It literally could be
seconds
before.
Time to reflect. So this instructions say the law does not fix the exact period of time that must pass between the formation of the premeditation intent versus the action. And so I also saw a lot of people in chats, not just yours, but everywhere across all the platforms. I'm not on much of them, but I see some things. People are saying, why wouldn't you just take a plea? Why wouldn't you just take a plea?
Always,
as I've explained this, I tried so hard. The state has to offer the freaking plea for it to happen.
Like your defense, you could go in and beg on your hands and knees, and the state's like, yeah, nope. Right.
And the offers that are being made right now, 50 years, 40 years, 35 years, so there was no offer on this case for any of them.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to happen. I get frustrated, which is why I don't read chats. Your chat is great, and they were very nice to me.
Yes, we try. All right, so we'll move on. We want to get to principals.
Yeah, so this is super important, and I don't think many people understand this either, which is the principal theory that we have here in Florida, which is the downfall for a lot of people. In Sunnyvale, if you will remember, they couldn't pinpoint how many co-defendants did we have there? 4, 5?
5, I thought. Pretty sure it was 5.
And they never recovered weapons there. There was no DNA there, right? So we had some video, some cars.
So there's
cell stuff.
So yeah, cell always gets you. So digital data is always going to get you.
Yeah, exactly. So the principal thing is what I think on the Sunnyvale jury, there was just no way to tell who did what.
No.
So they, and because everybody was charged as a principal, this is how it is. So if the defendant helped another person or persons to commit a crime, I think there's a 2 missing. The defendant is a principal and must be treated as if he had done all the things the other person or persons did if the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt, 1, that the defendant intended the crime, and 2, the defendant did some act or said something that was intended to and did incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person or persons to actually commit the crime. To be a principal, the defendant does not have to be present when the crime is committed. Now, is that not, that's crazy, right?
That's Charlie Adelson. That's Donna Adelson. That's, you don't have to, well, that's where you get to be the boss. Hey, do it, hey, go do this for me kind of thing.
But don't do, as Tanika always said, don't do crime. For first degree premeditated, state must prove that the defendant intended. And for second degree, you don't need the intent. So if you think about that, the second degree makes sense because Charles Jones was the target. Nobody intended for Camia Bentley to be hit or Geno Norris or Xavier Edwards.
Right.
So it goes on to say that it is not necessary. I was like, look at my screen. What is floating up on my screen? There are hearts. For second degree murder or second degree, you don't need to prove that the defendant intended it. And it's not necessary for a principal to know every detail of how first, second, or manslaughter will be committed as long as the principal intended it to occur and then did something that was intended to help and did help it to occur. And then the state does not need to prove a defendant knew another participant of the first, second, or M would be or was armed.
Yep.
And then we had conspiracy. State has two elements on conspiracy. Intent. You see, we keep coming back to intent.
Mm-hmm.
Intent of the defendant was that the offense would be committed. And two, in order to carry out the intent, the defendant agreed, conspired, combined, confederated with one or more of his co-defendants to cause the first degree to be committed either by them, one of them, or by some other person. It is not necessary that the agreement, conspiracy, combination, confederation to commit be expressed in any particular words or that words pass between the conspirators. You don't have to talk about it, which is some of this is a little, it makes your mind want to bend a little. It's not necessary that the defendant do any act in furtherance of the offense conspired. So when people say, like in chat, oh, they'll be back in an hour. Well, no, you hope that that's not the case, unless I did have a lawyer have a guy convicted in 7 minutes, but that was a very blatant case that should never have gone to trial. And the guy had 7 minutes is pretty fast though.
Yeah.
But as I was telling you, they have to go back there. They need to make sure they read all the indictments. They probably reread the jury instructions, and then they have to, work it out. But you've got 4 people charged with the highest level of crimes. Yeah. You would hope that more than 1 hour of consideration is going to be given.
Yeah, I was very happy with what the jury, the time they took. Yeah,
I was too.
Yeah, and I think if they back in an hour, we would have been like, "Ooh, that's."
I would have thought that was terrible.
Yeah. Did you actually really take the time to think about this? And
wouldn't have thought they took the time to take turns going to the bathroom. So
right. I think I brought up in our chat, I'm like, we have the luxury of talking about this for 2 weeks. These people don't. And they probably just went in and they probably just threw up on each other. Like, oh my God, can you imagine this? Oh my God, this, and that alone is going to take a half an hour for each person,
this kind of case is absolutely it was mind blowing to me. And I've seen some really nasty things, but it's just the history that I find to be, so problematic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is for counts 3, 4, and 5. So this would be Xavier, Geno, and Camia.
Oh, the attempt, right? Yeah. So it includes so you often hear lesser included, right? So attempt first degree would have meant that they actually wanted to unalive them, right? But second degree and manslaughter are still unlawful, but you have to kind of look at the circumstances surrounding it. That's attempt. Okay, and so then you have attempted first degree premeditated. So that would be like if they had intended Charles and then failed. That would be an attempt. The defendant intended to commit the crime. Defendant committed an overt act toward the commission of that crime that went beyond mere preparation, and they failed to complete it. So they didn't have that because, to our knowledge, they were not intending to kill Geno, Xavier Edwards, Camia Bentley, right? So
no, they were, I would say, innocent bystanders essentially, but they were part of the crew. So, but no, I think it seems like the main person was Charles. Do you, are we good here? Do you want me to?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Tell Scotty Sonardi not to send me text messages during streams. Okay, so mere preparation, you have to go beyond mere preparation. So that consists of devising or arranging the means or measures necessary to commit the crime, an overt act. So you see how in the instructions they lay out what the state has to present, but or has to prove, but then they define it all, right? So you're not left wondering what is an overt act. Well, what is premeditation? They've laid it out here for you in a very clear manner, and so the judge has to sit there and read those to you. I would never be able to process it just by like listening to it. I have to process by seeing it.
Do they have jury instructions while the judge is reading, or do they just sit there and listen? Like, are they following along?
No, they don't. They're just listening.
Okay.
They're given them once they go back, plus all of the evidence. The openings and the closings are not evidence.
Right. Yeah, I think I would probably gloss over if I wasn't able to read along while the especially if it's like Darrell Brooks, where there was like 72 charges and Judge Doro went on for like 5 hours reading, because she had to read every single charge, every single person, rightfully so. But it was like, oh my God. All right. Do you want to read through
So
here?
you see, premeditation there is after consciously deciding to do so. Decision must be present in the mind at the time of. The law does not fix the exact period of time that must pass between the formation. It must be long enough to allow reflection. That's, I mean, here, I mean, I think that the state had a case. If you're showing, if you think you've got a case for conspiracy, then you certainly have a case for premeditation.
This is what always hangs me up. I always get hung up on this, the premeditate, because to me, premeditation is you're thinking about it for a period of time. Like if you get really angry at somebody and you, unfortunately, if you kill them, you may not have meant it. Right. But see, that to me, that's such a fine line.
That's not premeditated first degree. I mean, I guess it would depend on the circumstances, but if you're in an argument with someone and it erupts into violence, then you're not looking so much at if you walked out of the bar and went to your car and got yourself a weapon and turned around and went back in, then you've got
100% premeditated
first, right?
100%.
But like with reckless disregard or a depraved heart, which is what we see in this one, then you're going to be at second.
Right. But if you get in a fight and you throw a punch and that person, hits their head and they die, that would,
I mean, my guess,
because don't you have time to reflect of like, whoa, I shouldn't be in this fight,
well, in that case, you might be looking at manslaughter. Jacksonville, Florida is in the house. Are the jury's instructions standard, or they make them case by case? So at Great Gams, there are model jury instructions, Florida model jury instructions. So what we did was we took the indictment with the statutes and we went and grabbed the model jury instructions and we cut a whole bunch of stuff out so that this wouldn't be overly painful for you. But what happens is when you hear the jury is excused and the lawyers and the judge are talking back and forth and they're like, do you want this? Do you want that? They're just kind of tweaking those jury instructions to fit this particular circumstance better. So, but we went ahead because we don't have the actual ones and we just kind of scaled it down for you, but they're standard.
Yeah, this is like the template, if you will, or
right. Okay, so we talked about premeditation and we talked about
sufficient proof premeditation. Okay. Oh, down to okay.
So that's the principle. So if the defendant helped another person or persons commit a crime, the defendant is a principal and must be treated as if he'd done all the things that the other person or persons did if the state proved. So it's an if. You look at it like a checklist. Yeah. Did the state prove that the defendant intended this? That the defendant did some act or said something that was intended to, and that did incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise, so on and so forth. And so then it says what you have to prove for attempted first degree premeditated, which is different than attempted first degree without the premeditation. It literally makes your mind hurt. I'm just not a person that understands this kind of thing
See,
really.
this is where I get into Young and Ace with the duets, and then he drops Game Over at a day or hours
But it's
after.
a song, so
Yeah, I know. Well,
a lot of people think RICO charges are coming for Young and Ace, but they have to be
yeah.
able to show, a racketeering.
Yeah, that's more racketeering. I mean, that's what it is, racketeering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think if anybody were to have potentially been charged based on what I have seen, it would have been Jacory Rivers, J. Breezy, because there was funding traced back to him.
That's true. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, his fingers. Yeah, I mean, he paid the cash app to Isaiah. All right, so tampering. So this would be Sean.
Right?
Sean with wiping down the Impala and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe soaking the cardboard. Did they do that in this one? I don't remember.
What do you mean? Did they do that?
Did they bring that in? In Alicia's trial, they showed all the torn up cardboard boxes in the sink.
Oh yeah. No, they brought it in. Yeah, here it is. Defend, alter, destroy, conceal, remove. So that would be him wiping down the car, and then also, all the cardboard. Yep. Which I didn't understand. Like, what was he hoping to achieve there? Just burn it or throw it away? Why soak it? I don't know. That made no sense to me. But anyway. And then here are the lessers, because we always get into the lessers where everybody's always like, well, what's the lesser in case they don't go for first? What are the lesser included? So this one I'm particularly interested in.
Right. So a lesser included means like you have the big one, and if you don't think all the elements are met, it's like, okay, well, what about this one? This doesn't rise to the level of the first one. So here we have lesser included in the definition of just straight first degree are second degree and manslaughter. There are no lesser crimes in the definition of conspiracy to commit. Oh, hello. Bama and Laura are here.
Is he making an appearance? Henry's making an appearance.
There are no lesser crimes indicated in the definition of conspiracy, so not applicable. Lesser crimes indicated in the definition of attempted first degree are attempted second and attempted man. There are no lesser crimes indicated in the definition of tampering with physical evidence. So scroll up. The state must prove for the attempted second, which is what they came back, right, was attempted second. That was what was actually found. That the defendant intentionally committed an overt act that could have resulted in the death of the victim, but did not result in the victim's death. So you see that intentionally committed the act. So they intentionally fired the weapon that could have, right? The potential was there. They didn't have the intent. Do you see that that's missing is the intent piece of that? So the act was imminently dangerous to another. Yeah. Right. If you're shooting up a parking lot of a packed hotel.
Right.
And demonstrated a depraved mind without regard for human life. And that overt act went beyond mere preparation. So if you watch the footage when it came back and like Sean, it said, and I didn't hear it for Isaiah, but for Sean, they said attempted second, and Jenna Finkelstein was nodding, and I was like sitting here nodding my head as well, like, okay, that would have been the right decision, because there's no evidence that Geno Norris or Xavier or Camia Bentley were intended targets.
Right.
This was reckless.
Now, why? Well, this may have been an overreach by the state, which may have been why they didn't. But what about all the people in the hotel? We know that it went into Pablo Gabor's, I think, was that his family. I think his wife got burned on the leg. The woman Auger, she was there with her daughter. She just put her daughter into the university across the street. Like they could have gotten them. Put their charges on too, or would that have been an overreach for the state?
I think I don't think it would have been. It was necessary. That might have been an overreach from the state. I mean, if they took this to a grand jury and walked out with all of these charges, then that wouldn't have been necessary.
Yeah.
Please, can we refrain?
God forbid one of those kids got hit, you know?
Oh, I know. And then this was a really big part of this case too on the, can I say the word? I know we're not supposed
Oh,
to
yeah,
type it.
yeah. No, I think gang
Okay.
is fine. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the criminal gang situation. Come here.
Mhm.
Come here. Okay. So this was a big thing, right? Because like we were talking about at the beginning, these are hybrid gangs, but they hit the criteria that set out by this 874 Florida statute. It means a formal or informal ongoing organization, association, or group that has one of its primary activities the commission of criminal or delinquent acts that consists of 3 or more persons who have a common name or common identifying signs, colors, or symbols, including but not limited to terrorist organizations and hate groups. Well, okay, that makes sense, right? I don't have a hard time with that. Admits to membership. Well, I have very few that will admit to it. Come here. Oof. There he is.
Oh, there he is. Henry. Whoop, whoop.
Okay, if anybody wanted a Henry cameo, here he is.
There he is. Here. There he is. Henry. Oh, sweet boy.
Okay. That's enough for you. Okay, so then we have.
Did I screw it up?
See. Admits to it is.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Oh my God. Hold on. Let me get back to where were we? Where was it here? No, there. Okay, there. That's bigger. Okay. See
Scotty,
what you did,
I don't
Henry?
know how you can be surprised at his fluff. You just saw him a few days ago. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry.
He's so fluffy. Henry.
Don't bite me though, please. All these people were calling for you.
See, everybody loves you, Henry.
I'm just gonna chew on some cords for a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so is identified as a criminal gang member by a parent or guardian. Okay. I have yet to meet a parent that admits that about their child. Identified by a documented, reliable informant. So
we heard that in trial. We heard that in trial. Yeah.
Right. Adopts a style of dress.
We heard that.
Well, yeah. So that to me, that goes more back to like the colors thing. Do you remember the song Colors for the movie? You know, back in the like Crips and Bloods, it was blue and red, right? So that's what the style of dress, like white.
So could
white t-shirts, blue jeans, and a certain color bandana.
Sure. Could a political party be a gang?
It's entirely possible.
They could be considered a criminal gang, but we're not going to get into politics here. Let's continue on. The hand sign. I love the hand sign.
Yeah. So, you know, and somebody made a good point somewhere along the line, and I don't know where I read it, heard it, or saw it. So, did you just sneeze? Well, you're not supposed to be back there. Finds the dustiest place. Yeah, lots of debate over the ripped jeans. That was kind of crazy. So adopts the hand signal, but somebody had made a comment, and it's something that I have seen previously as well, that, you know, if you see any teenage boy in any picture these days, they're throwing some kind of a sign.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even think they know what they're doing. They're just like, you know, whatever. It makes no sense. Has a tattoo. That's why they went over Davion's tattoos the way they did. That identified as used by a criminal gang. Associates with one or more known criminal gang members. So here's where things could have gotten dicey for people like who are known or documented. This is how they got to Rashad, right, for being in Spinabenz's and Wapa's videos. Identified as a criminal gang member by an informant of a previously untested reliability, and such identification is corroborated by independent information. So you either have an informant that you've worked for before and you certify that they've given you good information before, or if their reliability is untested, then you need a secondary source to to corroborate that independent or to corroborate that untested reliability. Identified by physical evidence. How are we all like cat gang because we all have cat thing? I mean, some of this is just a little ridiculous to me. Has been observed in the company of one or more. Again, this would go to Rashad and the reason why they brought in at least still shots from some of Spin and Wapa's videos. Mm-hmm. Observation in a custodial setting requires a willful association. So they're talking about in jail. Like you have to willfully put yourself in the company of other gang members. It is the intent of the legislature to allow this criterion to be used to identify gang members who recruit and organize in jails, prisons, and other detention settings. And then has authorized any communication indicating responsibility for the commission of any crime by the criminal gang. So I guess that's where you could come in with the Bill Belichick goat Instagram things. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're gloating on Instagram, I guess. I mean, listen, don't take your crime to social media.
Yeah, these guys were self-snitching left and right.
Please don't bite me.
And then, okay, so, oh, wait, hold on. I lost my thought for a second. Well, it'll come back. It'll come back to me. Fast Money Goon. Fast Money Goon, literally in the lyric, caught him lacking in Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, he admits to
in the main song. So there were two main songs used in the trial. One was by Young and Ace, mm-hmm. Fast Money Goon, Wapa with a Choppa, and Spin a Benz, who are brothers, those last mm-hmm. two. Mm-hmm. And that was the one that starts out with the orchestra, mm-hmm. right? And they're on the golf course, and it's Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles. Mm-hmm. So that is where that video was important because it showed the names of people from the other side who they were taking credit for.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too, Scotty. I don't know that we had ever thought about that. Someone speculated that the Belichick thing was because Tom Brady was number 12. Maybe. I don't know. I never got there with it, but I'm not a sports fan, so like that wouldn't have occurred to me anyway.
No, that takes it to a deeper level. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that takes it to a deeper level.
And then the song that they introduced by Charles Jones, Julio Foolio, was When I See You, and that he's bragging about or rejoicing in the
town center
incident that took three lives.
Yeah.
So when you have multiple counts or informations and multiple defendants, I saw this come up in your chat in various different ways. Mm-hmm. So a separate crime is charged against each defendant in each count of the indictment. Okay, so you don't, just because they're all being tried at the same time, and I've seen this floating around out there as well. It's like you can't just lump them all in and try them as a group of people. That's like, when you go out to dinner with a whole bunch of people and you're not a drinker, or so you're not buying any alcohol, and maybe you just had a salad and you didn't eat any dessert and you didn't have any appetizers, but they want you to split the bill with them. Mm-hmm. Whereas they had a couple of bottles of whatever, and all of a sudden your $30 dinner is now like $300. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of the same analogy. So you need a separate crime charged against each defendant in each count. So all indictments will say count 1, 2, 3, 4, and they'll name an individual, or they'll say this applies only to. So the defendants have been tried together. However, the charges against each defendant and the evidence applicable to him must be considered separately. And that's why Scotty had Davion stand up, was because we wanted to make sure that they weren't lumping the two together, and that, Rashad's alleged activities, and Davion's alleged activities, they remained separate.
Right.
So Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Well, Renee, this goes to that. Why did they decide to try them all together? You guys tried to separate them. It was the state that
Oh,
wanted to
we
try them
fought
together.
hard
Yeah.
to separate them. Yeah, it was in the state's best interest. It's a good look
Yeah.
for the state.
Mm-hmm.
The state here is extremely aggressive in this circuit. It's judicially, fiscally responsible.
Right. Yeah, you have one jury for
Time-wise, can you
4
imagine?
versus 4. Yeah, exactly. You'd have to go through that process 4 times, right?
So, or the other issue is, okay, try them all at the same time with separate juries. That was an option. So, if they had separated out Davion for a specific reason, and they would have had the same. There was the potential for there being one trial, but with 2 juries. It's messy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But here it says the defendants have been tried together. However, the charges against each defendant and the evidence applicable to him must be considered separately. So, like I said, that was really important that we distinguish. A finding of guilty or not guilty as to one or some of the defendants must not affect your verdict as to any other defendants or crimes charged, except that they've charged them under conspiracy and principal, and then made them all gang members.
It's impossible to keep them separate. It's just impossible. You can't. Somebody asked. I'm trying to find the question. Here, Brian asked this. Brian asked this the other day. I thought this was really good. Let me pull this up. Because if you find one guilty, you're going to find them all guilty because of the conspiracy charge. Hold on. Oh, wait here. I posted. Here. So Brian asked this the other day. Can they return verdict on some and be locked on others? So what if they said, you know what, Davion, or Sean, or Isaiah was in the car. We're not sure. But they will. I don't know. That's where the conspiracy comes in. That's this conspiracy charge. To me, if you're going to find one of them guilty, you're going to find all of them guilty.
So what might help to answer that question is, do we have the sample verdict form? Because that might help to answer Brian's question.
Sure.
So count 1, victim A. So for example, this would be like the first degree premeditated. We're going to call this like the biggest one, right? And the victim in this case is going to be Charles. So we're looking at the premeditated first degree as charged. Okay. So they would have had to have checked A on that. In their instructions, that's like their dictionary, right? They go back to the instructions, the jury instructions, and they can see, okay, did the checklist happen? Yeah, okay, then we're done with that one and we move on. And so if you find that defendant guilty of A, right, or B, C, or D, you must then. So it's a if-then situation. And so they just kind of go down the form and they check the boxes. So in order to have convicted them in this phase of the trial, they had to have unanimous verdict.
So they did have not guilty on there. Somebody was asking about that. Do they have not guilty on there? I don't remember her saying that when she was reading this, but clearly it's there. Or we think it's there. Maybe it wasn't. This is like boilerplate, right?
I think it was there. I think it always has to be there. I think not guilty always has to be a choice.
I would think so too, but I don't remember her saying that. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll move on. So if you found such and such guilty, then it gets to then here's the firearm. Did they use a firearm? Yes, because Charles wasn't stabbed. He wasn't blown up. He wasn't drowned. They used a firearm. So that one's pretty easy. That's a pretty easy one. And then the criminal gang. Then the third one is criminal gang.
Right. Hang on. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. And these were all yeses.
So did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt the defendant was a member associate of the gang during the commission of the offense? and committed the crime for the purpose of benefiting. And it's just as simple as yes, no.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they go back, they've got the evidence, they've got the jury instructions, and then this form takes you through this.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is the same? Yeah, it's the same.
So this one is first degree or second degree in count one.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to answer, and this is a case that I had with a young man back in 2024, which was one of the first cases I ever talked about on my channel. That young man is going to be retried. He's never been sentenced. They came back and said, yeah, he was guilty of first degree, but during the commission of the offense, no, he didn't actually possess and didn't actually discharge. And so here, though, they came back with yes and yes. They found both to be true.
Mm-hmm.
But on a principle theory, you can still be convicted of first degree, right? And not possess and not fire.
But if Charles, I mean, did they actually possess it? And then did they actually discharge it? I would think if you're going to go yes up here during the commission, they used it. If you're going to go yes here, this would be like a no-brainer down here.
During the, well, okay, yeah, but if no one actually, so in this case, though, we saw the people with actual firearms firing them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in my other case, that's going to have to go back to retrial, that nobody saw that. Well, it depends on what the co-defendants say. So he was a principal in theory for a crime, but the jury that tried him said, well, yeah, okay, you put him there, but we don't know that he had a gun, and we don't know that he fired one.
Gotcha. And okay, I get it then. Okay, in this case, this one is a no-brainer, but in your case, there could be some wiggle room there.
And so the co-defendant, one of his co-defendants, was tried at the same time and was found not guilty. Do you know why? No phone. Couldn't put him there.
Oh, digital data. It'll save you or it'll bury you.
Crime scene in your pocket. Somebody said, didn't you send me that somebody somewhere you had read that or something?
Oh no, I don't remember that. That's a good one though. Yeah, crime scene in your pocket for sure.
Walking crime scene in your pocket or something.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so
and so here they're saying count two and which victim, right? Conspiracy as charged or not guilty. Remember, because we just looked at there's no lesser included on conspiracy. Yeah.
Right. Yep. It's either guilty or not guilty. And then it goes into the association with the criminal gang, which they said yes to. And then now here's where we get to.
So this is count three for victim.
This would be Xavier was first, I think. Xavier was count three.
Yeah, so this I think is
Xavier was 3, Geno was 4, and Camia was 5.
So, and this is where they came back with the attempted second degree, lesser included.
Because it wasn't their intent.
You didn't have intent.
Yeah.
You were an intended idiot, but you didn't have intent to.
Yeah.
I mean, they were very lucky that they didn't kill each other or anyone else other than,
I agree. When I look at
red, or is it a choice of which version of the FA question to help?
We're both red. Or is it a choice of which version? Yeah, I don't quite understand that. We're both we're both
I'm
red.
stumped on that one, Kat.
Jury instructions
both
and
red, or is it a choice of which version of the FA question to include? I just don't know what FA stands for.
We need a little bit more context, if you don't mind. What is both? What is both? Both were read. All right. Scotty can interpret.
Yes, both were read.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. The answer to your question is yes, both are read. Thank you,
That's
Scotty.
not how you spell were, Scotty. Take that apostrophe out of
Oh,
there.
yeah. Scotty, and you call yourself a lawyer?
Excuse me.
Sorry, Scotty. Just busting chops. Oh, there you go.
Like Isaiah having an apostrophe on Pradas.
Wait, what? Yes.
And the name of his video is Blood on My Pradas.
Oh, yeah. I agree, Green Eye Cat. It is a miracle, including them. They could have very easily winged each other. Especially Shooter 3, which we now know is Davion, just blasting away right at Sean. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, they literally were just like, anyway. Oh, firearms. Okay. You can say that.
You're thank you. Well, she was probably typing concisely. And we're just too tired to.
All right. Let's carry on. All right. Let's move on. What else do we? Okay. So these are all.
Sorry, Kat. We promise we're smarter than this.
All right. Cool. So this is all pretty much the same. So 3, 4, and 5 are pretty much the same. So Xavier, Geno, and then Camia was.
Yeah, Kat is very. So for those of you that don't know, Kat Not Williams is a YouTube channel, who somehow managed to stick around for the world's longest, craziest bat of a trial, the YSL trial in Atlanta. And I don't know where your education is from, but it's very good. You have an excellent grasp of the legal concepts. If you're an attorney, that's amazing. But if you're not an attorney, that's even more amazing. And your patience is just beyond. So it's super nice that you came over and said hello to us, and I appreciate your questions.
Absolutely. So we don't have count 6, which was the tampering. We don't have that in here, which is whatever. It is what it is. I'm just saying it stops at count 5.
Only applied to Sean.
Yeah.
So does anybody, Aaron just put the link up to Kat's channel on, I don't know. Aaron knows how to do everything behind the scenes. I know how to do nothing. I'm looking at my own chat. So it's in my chat. It's probably in your chat as well. Does anybody, before we sign off from this madness, does anybody have any questions that we didn't answer that you're just dying to know the answer to?
We have lots of questions. Are you going to go there on Monday?
Sinister Soldier. That's a really good question, because Alicia's got a hearing in the morning for a new trial, so I'm debating it. It's just a matter of like, I have to get up, I have to put on like nice clothes, and then I have to go pay for parking and then go through security. I don't know. I'm still debating. Gotcha. I want to go and talk to Davion one last time at least. Do I think this case was brought to trial for the popularity of Julio, or they wanted to come as an example like for others? Because in general, they hardly prosecute these cases. Okay, yeah, well, in general, in Tampa, they prosecute everything. So I understand there's a number of unsolved in Jacksonville. I think that they take every chance they can get here to try everyone for everything.
Yeah.
On the ground 09. Not sure if this has been asked. Did you think that the jury would need more time to reach a verdict? No, I thought, like we just said not very long ago, I was going to be upset if it was back in like 2 hours, because I just didn't think that was enough time to even sort of sit down, take a breath, like process. Okay, we've got 4 different defendants here. I was okay with, they were out, right around 8 hours.
This one I can answer. Debbie says, after phase 2, will all 4 defendants be housed in the same prison, or will they go to different states? No, they'll stay in Florida. They'll stay in Florida. If it was federal, then they would be potentially, spread all over, but this is Florida. This is a good one. CC123 Leo, are you familiar with the new appointed judge for Alicia Andrews?
Scotty is. It's Judge Fernandez. I have not had, I've not been in her courtroom that I can remember. I don't go to every case that I have doesn't go to trial, and I don't go to every trial. And this one I missed sections of because I'm trying really hard not to cough, but I was sick. What is the biggest misinformation from this trial in your opinion? Oh,
That's a really good question.
Well, Davion
immediately,
and Rashad aren't brothers.
Right. And then the fight, the fight that happened.
Yeah, well, that came at the
but something
or that
else,
the lawyers are all bad public defenders.
That's true. That's true. But that's true of every trial. But this one specifically with the beef that Julio was took out any number that he was a killer, that could be misinformation. That's not,
that Robert Howard sold out the location.
Or Aaliyah Albrighton. There was that going around. She's taking a selfie in the bathroom while this is going down.
Well, there's an alibi for you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And she dated Quan, so then there's that.
Yeah. I think that the problem is just the internet and people spouting off their opinions without knowing the facts, and that makes me crazy.
Let's see. This is a good one from Linda. Do you feel any appeals will be filed? Well,
100%. So sure. It's a capital case. Yep. It will automatically go to appeal. And so I guess that's something that I see with every trial. It's like, why are they making an argument for, that the state didn't prove their case? Why are these attorneys saying this? Why are they arguing that? Because they have to. It's their job. And if they don't, then it's called 3850, ineffective assistance of counsel. So it's called CYA, cover your, and that's why sometimes arguments have to be made that they're like, sit down, stupid, you should shut up or whatever. That's,
I know people.
Then that's just ignorance.
Yeah, people. Snap asked, if it was tit for tat in this mess, why would one side get the DP and the other side get away with it? Is it because they didn't get caught? So I'm assuming you're
down to
like young inside,
Well, so like, okay, let's look at Queso and Scotty. I mean, not this Scotty, the Scotty Whitaker in Jacksonville. That trial, life was on the table. It's the prosecutors. It's up to the state's attorney's office. And here we have a very, very punitive state's attorney, the prosecution. That's who decides. And so also, as I've said before in previous streams, you don't just decide that somebody is getting convicted of the DP. The state has to file a notice of intent to seek it. Mm-hmm. There's a whole set of special rules. So anytime somebody shows up on Reddit telling you that, oh, they're cooked, you better check your facts first.
Always. Well, it's easy to offer an opinion without checking facts. This is a really good question. YT Hazel, where do the defendants get their wardrobe?
It's us.
And where do you guys get it?
So Scotty and Deb, I think, got stuff for Davion. Usually it comes from the family. So like Andrew Thompson, I had a freaking entire wardrobe for him, designer wardrobe for the Sunnyvale trial. Like, I don't know how Scotty carried it all out of the courthouse because I had like 6 different pairs of shoes for him. He had a different suit and tie and shirt every day. It's usually the family. If the family doesn't have it, the public defender's office has some things. It's attorneys who have built up, closets of this, that, and the other. Some of the deputies have ties and things that have been left behind. So it's various. I believe that for Davion, either Scotty or Deborah provided everything for him.
Okay. This gets into Dr. Leap. She was the gang expert. Lazy Boys asks, whose idea was it to bring
that would have had to have been
it was Isaiah.
A lawyer. Wasn't that Justin?
I think so.
Yeah, that would have been the lawyer.
It wasn't Rashad or Davion, and I don't.
It was.
Well, here, hold on. Let me see. Let me see who it was. Leap.
Isaiah. Was it Isaiah's? Scotty. Justin. Yeah, it was Justin.
Was it? Okay.
Petratus. Yeah.
Thank you.
It was their witness.
Scotty's saving our butt left and right tonight.
I know, but he always does because his brain works better than mine does.
This is a good question. We're going to wrap it up soon, right? So let me just get through a couple more. Glee roll. How hard was it not to implicate the other defendants during the trial?
Well, so the way that I explained it to Davion, I guess, was it's every man for himself. I mean, you got this far, so nobody snitched. But if you go back and you watch the footage of Brian, when Brian Gonzalez, I hear you, but you've got food and you're fine. If you go back and you watch the footage of Scotty giving his closing, and Brian had kind of been dozing a little bit, you know, and then Scotty gets up there, so he wakes up and he's sitting there like this, and then all of a sudden Scotty says something that throws Rashad under the bus, and Brian's eyebrows just like shot up.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you know, it
all's fair, right? All's fair in love and war.
We're trying to save your life, so you decide. And I mean,
Yep.
sometimes they want us to throw the other person under the bus, and sometimes they absolutely refuse it. And I'm like, are you crazy? You should blame this on the other person, because you're about to lose. You're 16 years old and you're never going to see the light of day, and you think he's not going to sell you out?
Yeah, given the chance. Yeah. Eva Renee says, not sure if we touched upon this, which we did not. Probable bias. Every defense motion was denied. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there were some, but I would say the majority of their motions were. But isn't that kind of true in most trials? Usually the judge sides with the state.
Oh, is she talking about probative versus prejudicial? What is probable?
I would think so.
Probable bias.
A judge always denying the defense motions or objections, you know, and always siding for the state.
That's okay. Yeah, no, I mean, it's always that way. Like the state, the odds are never in your favor, right? Yeah. I mean, it's stacked against you from the get.
Yeah, by and large, it's like 90% for the state, 10%. There were times where Brian
You're exactly right. I was
wins,
stunned to find out that she had been a criminal defense attorney. Stunned.
Let's see. 80s Music Man wins the internet. Will we make a rap video after this trial? Yes, we will.
Oh, sure.
I was working on my scratching with Robert.
Yeah, you were. I was cracking up.
6 block 6. All right, I'll stop now. Yeah, I agree with this. I think a lot of people did Lazy Boys. Dr. Leap should have been kept for the penalty. What do you think of that? Do you think she was pulled out like too early? I mean, brought out to testify too early? Like, what was the value of that from your standpoint?
To try to refute that 1200 was a criminal gang.
Yeah.
But like, you can't, our statute is very broad, so there was no getting around it. You know, I thought she would be very interesting. I don't know that she would have worked, that it would have worked for mitigation, but I agree that it's, because I don't work on that side, but I agree it seems like it would have made more sense. But they were trying, you know, we just read everything with all the gang enhancements on there, so they were trying to prove that 6 Block isn't a gang. And there was another trial that you covered somewhere along the line where they brought in a gang expert that just absolutely failed beyond. It was I want to say it was like an older Latin guy, and he had been in a gang.
Oh,
do you remember this?
Yeah. You covered this. That was the guy. Yeah. He shot his girlfriend. She had kids. Oh yeah. They drowned the kids in the bathtub. Yeah. I can't remember his name right now, but yes. Yep. Yeah, they brought that guy in.
I haven't seen a gang expert workout yet, but there's still time.
All right. I think we're pretty good. Do you want to talk real quick about Sean? Yeah, he got, I think Skrubnik, I think just the weight of everything just hit him.
I don't have personal knowledge of Sean or Isaiah, and obviously I wasn't there. I haven't been back in a week's time because I have this cough and nobody appreciates it, even though I caught it from somebody sitting at that table. But I will say that I was sitting close to Sean for when I was in there. So I was like, There was basically one person between me and Sean, but we were on a corner like this. So if I was in the corner, then there was one attorney and then Sean. And he looked relaxed, inquisitive, like he was always listening to whatever I was mouthing off about. He wanted, he was all like big eyes and just looked like reality hadn't sunk in. And then as I sat and I watched this week, I saw it change completely. Hey, Scotty, do you see Adventurin's comment? Davion's attorney's closing was my favorite. I thought it was very strong, especially in a case with such difficult facts. Yay! Because we did it right here in this room.
All right, we'll get to some quick thank yous to Debbie for your $10 super sticker. And Debbie again for PI Sam. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, yeah, Brian. Disappointed where the camera mixed up Davion and Rashad. Okay. That was so upsetting. That was so upsetting. I was screaming at Brian. You would have been. I wasn't chatting in the time, but I was watching through. Oh, Henry, no. I was watching with you guys, and I saw your chats coming in. Really? Okay, this is how he behaves when I don't give him what he wants. I was dying because I wasn't there because, and I've sent Billy text message. I sent Scotty text message. I'm like, make sure you tell Davion. Make sure you tell Davion. That's Henry's tail.
Is that his tail? What is that? Is that his tail?
He's behind my laptop.
Yeah, yeah, I can see it moving.
Mm-hmm. Hi, would you like to not? He knows this will annoy me. Yeah, that was upsetting because oh my God, how do you do that after all that time? Yeah,
I know. That's why I think maybe it was a different camera operator. Maybe, I don't know. Kate Tally Pitlove, this is Alicia Andrews and Sarah Boone in the same prison because wow, to be able to fly over the wall.
Alicia hasn't even been sentenced yet. She's still in Hillsborough County jail.
Yeah. Oh, what's going on with her child? Do you know anything about her child?
So yeah, I was listening to like a video that Tanika had done. It sounds like the family law case settled. She got some money and like the kid has to come visit her like maybe 2 times a month and has to call her every week, something to that effect.
Ronnie V, do you think Jacksonville will go after Sean for the attempt on Foolio?
No. But, so they were able, just don't chew on things. They were able to, those casings are tied to a number of unsolves. And I don't know how many. Let me say this. No shade to Jacksonville. They do things a lot differently than they're done here. A lot.
Who? Law enforcement or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like the reports, the field incident reports that they write are vastly different from what I'm used to. Like that's JSO and ours is Hillsborough County Sheriff's and ours comes with like table of contents. I was like, where's the actual report? Sorry, that was Henry like deciding to run away. It was kind of crazy.
Let's see. We'll take a few more here. Lazy Boys, how bad did the gang enhancement hurt?
Didn't help. But I mean, first degree premeditated anyway. You've already got Florida, life is life. We don't have parole.
Yep.
There's no parole. So if you're sentenced to life, you are doing life unless your conviction is overturned. So, I mean, they made a show out of this case.
Yeah. Sorry, I've got activity here too, meaning kitties.
Yeah, Brian, they did reference that they are lighter on violent crimes than in Hillsborough. I don't know. Like, I can't speak to what happens for real in Jacksonville, but I just think if this case had been brought in Jacksonville, it would have had a lot more attention, but it might have been different charges. I'm not sure. I had issues with these so-called, like the 1200 gang expert and the other. I mean, these guys, they sounded like idiots. I think that probably between this chat and me, we know more than those people about these gangs than they did. It was just pathetic.
All right, I'm just kind of going through. Do you think, I'm sorry, do you know how Charles Jones' family feels about getting the DP?
Oh, sure. Let me direct you to Reddit.
Well, we know that Miss Mays, Sandrika Mays, she posted, is that what you're referring to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they are going to want DP, but regardless, they are celebrating the convictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she posted something on, was it Reddit or Instagram? Reddit.
It showed up. It was sent to me from Reddit, but it came from another platform.
She's got like a little finger, a statue or whatever,
celebrating
middle finger, and she had some Don Julio. Oh, and the verdict came in at 6 o'clock, right? Or six, right? It was 6 o'clock. Yeah, literally 6 o'clock. So read into that what you may. For Julio, also went by 6 o'clock, the whole thing. So, all right, I'm comfortable. I think this was a really great stream. I think we accomplished quite a lot. We had an appearance by Henry, which to me was the highlight, of course.
A prospective juror.
Prospective juror. Yes. No, awesome. So I'll let you say a few words, and then I'll
thrilled. Thank you guys so much for letting me. I mean, I've been an honorary mod on Trial TV Live for a very long time, but nobody has seen me there in a very long time. So I appreciate everyone. I saw where people, as I was in the chat through the couple of days that I saw where people were answering other people's questions with information that I had put out there. And I really appreciated that. And I appreciated very much too the support that everybody pushed out towards Scotty when he was getting ready to do his closing, because it was about supporting him as a person. And so that meant a lot to me too. And yeah, I hope that we do a lot of these back and forth, and I hope you'll come and check out my ramblings on my channel at Florida PI Sam, YouTube, absolutely. Whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And my email is the same. I'm not on social media anywhere else, so you can email me through that Gmail.
Very cool.
And thank you so much for hosting.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for co-hosting, and
it'll be interesting to see what the penalty phase brings.
Yeah, maybe we could do another get together. It would be next weekend if you're up for it.
I will be in a different state, but I'll be taking my computer with me. So
cool. All right, we shall see you then.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Really appreciate it.
All right. Have a good night, Sam.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, with that, I will say thank you again to Florida PI Sam. If you guys are not familiar with her channel, she does great work over there. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to our mods on both sides, because it was a dual stream. So I appreciate the mods on both sides, both channels. Thank you to Aaron. And thank you to that craziness that's going on behind me. Thank you, Henry, for making an appearance. So with that, guys, I will say goodbye. We'll be streaming Alicia's trial, or her motion for a new trial, on Monday. And then, of course, we'll be picking up on the penalty phase of the other 4 defendants. That I think it was 1 o'clock. I'm pretty sure Judge said they would start at 1 o'clock. So with that, I will say goodbye, and let me let's see. I think I have a song to play. It's been a while since I've been here, so let me hold on a sec. Just give me. There it is. Is that all right? I will say goodbye with this, if I can do it. Cannot do it. I thought we had an outro, but it's not working. All right. I'm just going to say goodbye and take myself off, and we'll see you later.